Hey witches, Dawn here. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you are doing well. I thought I would do a video about deities and whether I should work with the deities or not. This is something I've been rolling around in my mind for a long time, and I keep coming to the same conclusion that, I'm just not disciplined enough to really develop that relationship, and I really believe it's important to develop that relationship. So let's talk about it for a minute. The other thing that bothers me about deities is that the Greek gods, the stories about them, they they murdered people, they raped, they pillaged, they did things that I don't feel comfortable with. I'm not sure I want to work with a deity that did those things, like Yahweh. He sent his people in to kill every man, woman, and child, and then told his people to go, take over the land. And I'm not sure I'm really comfortable working with a deity like that. So here are the thoughts that go through my head. One is, how much of the stories about deities are made man-made. Basically, some human created the story for whatever agenda, whatever outcome. So what comes to mind about Yahweh is, okay, so there were people in authority, or the you've heard the word or the phrase deep state, and these are people behind the scenes that are pulling the strings and of our government and society and whatnot, and for an agenda of gaining more power and control over our culture and our country and our politics and whatnot. So what if there was something like that with the Israelites, or the Jews at the time, the Hebrews, Hebrews. And what if those elitists, if you want to call them that, the ones that are pulling the strings, and what if they wanted the land and they used Yahweh to get the people motivated to go in and wipe the population out, so that they can go in and set up we're staking this out, this is ours now. So what if that's what really happened, and it wasn't really a deity at all? So I don't know. Or maybe there is a deity called Yahweh that maybe he really wasn't all that nasty. For Yahweh, it was required a burnt offering, because Yahweh loved the smell of burning flesh. And that's always bothered me. Why does God need that? Why does God need burning flesh to be happy, to want to work with you, or be in favor of you? So that bothered me. And so I've always been really kind of hesitant in working with the deities, the well-known deities anyway. And I came across somebody who was discussing traditional witchcraft and said that traditional witches did not work with the well-known pantheon. If you were a witch back in England, back in the Middle Ages, back in England, what is that? Okay, let's do this over. So say you were a witch and you were living in the Middle Ages, medieval times, okay? And you lived in Europe, or let's narrow it down to England. You most likely had no clue of who the Greek gods were, or even the Nordic gods. So if you had no clue, you were not going to be working with them. So what I feel the witches back in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance and whatnot, they were more working with spirit allies. And this could be the same kind of deal as you would with deities, in that these spirit allies, or these, spirits that lived in the forest, in the wilds of the countryside, they were, the witches of that time were working with those deities. Could you call them deities? And this is spirits that live in the forest. And they worked with them. So it also plant allies. And we've heard a lot about that, and animal guides and whatnot. So are they the same? And if so, maybe I would like working with them, those deities, better than the Greek gods and the Nordic gods and whatnot. So, and that's where I lean towards, and I feel that it's important for me to honor and respect the spirits that live in this area. And I've mentioned before that when I first moved into this house was noisy. And I asked Skip, because he bought the house and lived in it for 2 years before I moved in. And I asked him, has it always been this noisy in this house? I mean, there's knocking, there's different sounds, like something's fallen over and nothing's happened, there's nothing wrong. Just different noises, footsteps and stuff like that. And he said that, yeah, but he's just ignoring it. And so I did my own little ritual, blessing the house, and I do this periodically, cleansing and blessing the house, and it keeps those spirits out of the house. And I can't explain it except that I'm setting up a vibration of what I want in the house, and that does not include mischievous spirits or beings coming into the house, because I, especially going through menopause, stress is very high for me. It is, I've always been able to handle stress until menopause. And now stress is just exaggerated in my body. It's, I believe it's the cortisol. From what I understand, cortisol, when your estrogen is low, cortisol is unregulated. So it feels like everything is a very stressful situation. So I don't need shenanigans in the house. I don't need these beings coming in and hiding things, which I love to do, by the way. And I've experienced that many times. And so that's why I said, okay, we got to set up the rules here. But I know there are spirits that live in this area. And we have bird feeders, and I put out bird seed, and Skip, that's his daily routine. He puts out the bird seed. I will tell you this, that we were watching the news and the weather, and he says, why is it all these big storms go around us? And I told him, just keep feeding the birds, okay? So that is my offering to the sky spirits, and that's the beings that I communicate to when we need rain and when we need protection from the big storms. So he said, oh, okay. So anyway, I know that there are beings in this area, and I want to be respectful and communicate with them and develop a relationship with them, because they're here, they're local. I'm not, and I don't feel 100% comfortable with some of the deities, like the gods, the Greek gods, who are wreaked havoc, I guess. Okay, so there's that. And I also wanted to discuss, who are the deities? Who are these gods? And I keep saying deities. It needs to be deities. Okay, so I wanted to touch on who they are and whether they've ever been human before. Is that something we need to put into the equation? And they seem to be very human-like in their relationships and their ego and their murdering and incest and things like that. Although they've done good things, I don't want to be, just focused on the negative, but it is there. So they're kind of human-like, and they have the ego. They have a lot of ego. So I just want to put that out there as well. So have they ever been human? I was watching a video by this guy. He's got a channel on YouTube, Aerith Harrar. I think he's from Denmark, or Denmark or Sweden, somewhere like that. He is an archaeologist, so I pay attention. His videos are very interesting and very in depth. He talks about the Nordic gods a lot, but also about other gods that were well known in Europe. So it's very interesting. But one time he said that Odin was a human being many, once before he became a god. And it made me think of Jesus. Okay, Jesus came to this planet and went through a lot of stuff, and was a healer and a teacher and did some miracles and stuff. So and look what happened. We elevated him to God status. And so what if Odin was the same kind of thing? So there's that. And then many years ago, I was talking to my mom about the gods, and we came to a conclusion that perhaps they are just pools of energy that we can tap into. Maybe they don't have a personality. Maybe they are not like us, and that it's just energy that it's been programmed. So if you were having trouble with romantic partnerships, that you could tap into Aphrodite, and that is a pool of energy that has been programmed for romantic relationships, and you can tap into it. So there's that as well. Okay, so I keep the deities separate from spirit guides. I don't believe they are the same thing. Fairies are in a different place. They are not spirit guides. Spirit guides to me are part of my soul group. They are on the other side. They are in a higher dimension. I call it fifth dimension for angels and spirit guides. And that deities, dragons, fairies, those mystical beings are in the fourth dimension, in the astral realm. And they cohabitate with us. We can't see them because they're in a higher dimension, but they can have an effect on us. So that's why your things disappear, because they're hiding them from you, because it's fun. So anyway, those are my thoughts, and I'm curious about other people's thoughts, and I've been watching some videos about other people's experience with deities, and I know that people have positive experiences. Sometimes it gets a little woo-woo for me, gets a little bit, makes me think you're in a fantasy world. I don't know if I don't know. Sometimes I think some people get way out there, but whatever works for you, that's the bottom line. Whatever works for me. One other thing I wanted to mention is that a reason why I don't work with deities is because it takes discipline. You need to work with them. You need to develop a relationship with them. And if you can ask any of my friends, I will go months without talking to any of my friends. That's just, that's the way I am. And I think it depends on the deity, probably, because it depends on the person. I made a friend with somebody at work who was upset with me because I didn't say hello to him when I walked into the plant where I work. And, I don't say hello to anybody in the plant when I walk in. I just walk in, go to my desk, start working. And he was demanding this from me. And I'm like, no, dude, I am not like that. I am not social. The only person I talk to on a daily basis is Skip. And that's the way I am. I don't show up for anybody every day. And I believe deities need a lot of work, and they need offerings, and they need communication. They need you to be there to develop that relationship. And the more you develop that relationship, I feel the more useful, I don't know if that's a good word, the more of an effect they can have in your life. I'll put it that way. So there's that, that's where I'm at. And I would love to hear about your experience with deities? Do you have an altar? Do you give them offerings? What kind of offerings do you give to them? Do you just go on what their stories tell about them, or have you learned other things that are not in the stories? I would love to hear that. And what about those stories about rape and incest and murder that they engaged in? My thought is that if you don't worship them, meaning you don't give yourself to them in a way that is subordinate, where you say you're giving yourself to that deity, do as you will, tell me what to do, I will do anything. Don't go there. I feel that part of the relationship with deity is dangerous, because they will take it, I don't want to say take advantage of it, but they will show you how that's bad. You need to be self-confident and respectful, and work with them like a mentor, like you would a mentor, okay? But you don't grovel towards them. Okay, so that's all I got, and I would love to hear from you what your thoughts are on working with deities and your experience, okay? So thank you so much for watching. Do something today that brings you joy and makes you feel good. And I love you all. And until next time, blessed be.